Okay, well, good afternoon or good morning if you're on the West Coast. Welcome to Training Bytes. If you have any questions during the presentation, there's a Q&A box at the top of your screen. If you don't see a Q&A box, use the chat window, but enter any questions that you have. We'll have a Q&A at the end of the webinar. My name is Gina Thomas. I'm the training manager at C&K Systems, and your hostess for Training Bytes, a digestible approach to Counterpoint training. Marty Katz is going to be joining us. He had to reboot his computer, but Marty's a lead
I'm here. Good
Oh, yay!
afternoon.
Yay, your reboot was successful.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
Okay. Marty's a project lead here at C&K Systems, and he's going to be on hand to help me answer questions. So it's the end of the year, and a lot of people are counting their inventory. And you might say, why? Why am I counting? Well, probably because your inventory quantities are incorrect over the course of a year, and you need to make them right. If your quantities are incorrect, then the value of your inventory when you run a valuation report is also going to be incorrect. Another good reason to count is to target high shrink items or high shrink areas of the store. So today we're going to talk about preparing for physical inventory outside and inside of the software, the physical inventory steps, and physical inventory reporting. So some best practices, I got a few of those. I have lots of best practices for you today. Prepare and organize the store. Make sure everything has a barcode on it to scan or to write down. Process any of your mark out of stocks and holds. And by holds, I mean your physical holds that you keep in the back room for customers. You either need to remember to count them or put them back out on the floor so they're included in the count. I find it helpful to make a map of the store and to number my fixtures and record those fixture numbers on my map. That way I can keep track of areas that have been counted or not yet been counted. We strongly recommend you perform your count before store app opening or store closing so you get the most accurate count possible. Some more best practices. Please do not zero out the inventory. I do have some people that like to make the inventory zero before they start counting. It kind of defeats the purpose because then you just end up with a big overage and you won't be able to target those high shrink items or areas. And understand too, when you do a physical inventory, it's going to write your numbers. So there's no point in zeroing it out. A lot of people have a misconception after doing the create step that the inventory is frozen. And that's based on the worksheets they see or the report they see. Your inventory is not frozen. The physical snapshot is frozen, but not your inventory. So because of that, no selling, no receiving, no transfers, no adjustments, and if you use bills of material, no quick assembly during the count process. If you have more than one store that you're counting, I recommend logging into the work group that's being counted. So in my database, I have a main store and I have an east store. If I'm counting my main store, when I log into Counterpoint, I'm going to select the main work group. That way, the physical inventory module and the work center default to that work group and you don't have to think about it. I also recommend scheduling a training or a refresher training. Not the day of inventory because I'm probably busy, but maybe a week or two ahead of time. And a refresher doesn't take that long, less than an hour. So I want you to understand the math that Counterpoint does during the posting process. So at the end of the day, when you're posting, Counterpoint's going to look at your frozen, what happened during the create step. It's going to look at what you actually counted and the variance. And then the math Counterpoint does is the frozen plus or minus the variance equals your new on hand. So if you sell during the count, that frozen doesn't get updated. So as an example, I've, 10 on hand when I did the create step. I sold one, so now there's 9, but my frozen still stays at 10, and the calculation at the end of inventory or at the end of posting is still going to look to that frozen of 10. So a little housekeeping inside the software before you start the inventory is you want to run your point of sale edit list and make sure all your sales are posted. So when you preview the edit list, it should be blank. If it's not, you'll need to post your sales. If you're having a problem posting the sales, please log a support ticket. You also want to check the Work Center. It's under System, Work Center. The Work Center is good for all year. It's a great place to check to make sure documents are getting posted. When you go into the Work Center, you will see purchasing documents. We don't care about those because purchasing has no effect on inventory, but we do care about transfers, receivings, adjustments, quick assemblies. So if you see any of those in the Work Center, they're there because they are not posted. Then in the physical inventory module itself, you're going to click on the Remove button to make sure you don't have any old files or old entries hanging out before you do your create step. It's because we want that to be nice and clean. And I'll actually show you an example of that later when we get in the software. So just an overview, physical count create is the very first step. It takes a snapshot of the inventory as it stands at very moment in time. You click on the button. Optionally, you can print official physical count worksheets, or you can just use pencil and paper, totally up to you. Physical count enter is to manually enter counts or to correct counts. Physical count import is for a third party that comes and counts for you, and they give you a file to import. Or if you scan all your items to an Excel spreadsheet, you can use the physical count import to import those scans from the spreadsheet. Physical count edit list is a report. You can run it as often as you like, but I do like you to run it at the end before you post. The physical count edit list will show you the frozen, the count, and the variance. And then if you find anything that jumps off the page that needs recounting and you need to fix that count, you're going to go back to physical count enter. Your final step is to post. Posting finalizes the inventory. Once you post, it's done. Once you post, we cannot unpost. Some solutions for entering your counts. I know a lot of you have 2B. 2B comes in a Windows version and an Android version, so you can use those for scanning. CP Mobile, you can use CP Mobile for scanning on your iPhone, iPod, or iPad. You can scan everything into Excel and import from there. You can use a third-party company like Regis or Washington, or you can do manual entry. Here's a screenshot of what 2B and CP Mobile look like. Now there's two versions of 2B. There's a Windows version, that's the panel on the left. There's the Android version, that's the panel in the middle. And then there's CP Mobile, that's the panel on the right. No matter what method you're using to scan, I recommend keeping your scanning windows to about 30 minutes in between exporting to Counterpoint, or scan for as long as you're willing to rescan. So don't scan for 5 hours, and then if something terrible happens to your scanner, like it gets dropped and it breaks, there's no way to recover those scans from a broken scanner. So if you're in the middle of a fixture and your 30 minutes is up, finish the fixture, that's fine. Or if it's less than 30 minutes, that's fine, but about 30 minutes. So the very first step is to create under inventory physical count. The location will default to the work group you're logged into. If you're doing a wall-to-wall, you're counting everything, you won't do anything else on this page. You'll just make sure the location is right and you'll leave the filter blank. If you're doing a cycle count, you're only counting a certain category or a certain subcategory or a certain vendor. You would specify that criteria here. So I get a lot of questions about the timing for the create step because some people want to take their scanners and scan ahead of time, which is fine if you have 2B. If you have 2B, you can start scanning, but do not export those scans until you've done the create step. That's very important. CP Mobile, you cannot scan ahead of time. You have to do your create step first, and then you can start scanning. If you're scanning to an Excel spreadsheet, you can do the create step before importing the Excel spreadsheet. The same with a third-party company like Regis. They'll scan, they'll hand you a file, and before you import that file, you'll do your create step. And of course, if you're doing manual entry, you have to do the create step before you enter any counts. Optionally, you can run the official physical count worksheet. I like to change the order by that's on the second line to category because most people merchandise that way. The default is to print it in item number order. So I would, arrange it by category. You can also arrange it by vendor. You want to enable or make sure include uncounted items is enabled. We'll take a closer look at this when we get into the software. Physical count enter is where you go to manually enter counts, or if you're using a scanner, this is where your counts land. If you're manually entering counts or you're correcting a count, when you're done, you save, don't post. Save, don't post. Now, CP Mobile and 2B Android will leverage all 6 of those fields. A manual count, you can use all 6 of the fields. If you're using 2B Windows or a third party, all of your counts will land on count quantity 1. And Counterpoint will keep adding them. So if you scan this Gucci keychain in one part of the store and you scan 5, count quantity 1 is 5. If you scan 6 more in another part of the store, then Counterpoint will update count quantity 1 to 11. Now that's if you're doing the imports 2B with Windows. The physical count edit list is a report. You can run this report as often as you like. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. But I want you to run it at least once when you're done counting. So I like to have the print quantity set to frozen actual variance. Include your uncounted items so you can see if you missed any sections. Print the variances for uncounted items and group it by category. The purpose of the edit list is to look for trouble. Look for things that, some counts that don't make sense. Like the Hello Kitty diamond tiara, somebody counted 50, and you might say, there's no way we have 50 of those. So you send somebody out to recount it. They come back and say there's only 4, and then you can go to enter and fix that count. But you definitely want to run the edit list. When you're ready to post and finalize the inventory, the only thing you need to remember on this page for a wall-to-wall inventory is to check assume quantity counted is 0. Now that statement is not worded very well. What it means is if a count field is empty, treat it as a 0. And this is a good thing because that way you don't have to go in to enter and manually put zeros on items you don't have. That switch will take care of it. If you're doing a cycle count, something additional that you need to do is to filter on the posting end whatever you filtered for when you created. At the end of posting, Counterpoint will prompt you to print the physical inventory report. If you don't feel like looking at the report when you're prompted, that's okay. Just say no to the prompt. You can always look at the report tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. If you go to Inventory Reports History, Physical Count History, go into the event number lookup, the most recent posted inventory will be the top event, and of course, group it by category. All right, let's get into the software and take a look. Okay, so first of all, a little bit of housekeeping. We want to make sure all our sales are posted. So you're going to go to point of sale, tickets, edit list. There's nothing fancy you need to do here. All you need to do is click on preview. The report should be blank. If it's not, it means you have unposted sales and they need to be posted. If the posting is failing for some reason, please log a support ticket. So the next thing we want to check is the work center to see if we have anything outside of purchasing that needs to be posted, because we want this all nice and clean before we do our create step. So you're going to go to System, Work Center, and if you look at the top here, because I signed into the main, the Work Center is defaulting to the main work group. And I can see here I've got a couple of inventory adjustments that aren't posted. I don't care about the purchasing documents. I've got receivings that aren't posted and a transfer out. You can actually manage these documents right from the Work Center. So if I click on this receiving link, Counterpoint will actually take me to the receiving, and I can review it, I can post it, or I can delete it. The Work Center, as you've probably gathered, is also just a very nice auditing tool. So you don't have to just use it for inventory. You can use it every day if you like. Okay, so to continue with some housekeeping, we want to make sure we don't have any old files laying around that are going to get in our way. So you're going to go to Inventory, Physical Count Remove. This is not what you should get. If you get this window, it means there's a file out there. So if I go into the event number lookup, I can select the file and I can simply remove it. Now I'm going to make sure everything's removed. Now if this window comes up again, there's something out there. There's some random scans that somebody manually entered and we need to get rid of them. So Marty taught me something today. I thought I had a very manual way of getting rid of these scans, but what Marty taught me was if you leave the event number blank and you click on remove, then Counterpoint will get rid of those random scans. So now when I go to physical count remove, this is the message you should get. This means there's nothing out there to get in your way. Okay, so step one is I'm going to do the create step, physical count create. Now again, because I logged into my main work group, the location defaults to main. So let's say I logged into the main work group, but I'm really counting the east, then I would have to remember to change that location. So again, just log into the work group you're counting. It'll save you a little bit of time and it'll just eliminate any second guessing. Now I'm going to do a wall-to-wall. So I'm going to leave my filter blank. But if I were doing a cycle count, let's say for apparel, then I would choose apparel in the filter. But I'm just going to go ahead and create. Now my create step is going to go really fast because I only have 200 items. Your
Hey,
create step will
Gina,
take a...
can I interrupt with
Yes,
something else that's a pet peeve of mine?
of
Click on the
course.
inventory selection tab.
Oh, this is a pet peeve of mine as well.
Some
Don't put a
people
date there.
think, don't
Don't
put a
do it.
date there. Please don't put a date there. Please don't put a date there. Okay, I return you to your normally scheduled programming.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's my pet peeve too. So if you have more than 200 items of inventory, your create step is going to take a little bit longer than mine. Mine's going to take like a few seconds. And how long your create step takes just depends on how many SKUs you have. So I'm going to click on create and you're going to see it's going to go really fast. So here's Counterpoint taking a picture of the inventory as it stands this very moment in time. Now I'm going to click OK. Some of you at the end of this process will get a prompt to print the worksheets. It depends on a configuration setting. Just say no to that prompt, because if you say yes, it'll print the official worksheets in item number order, and nobody merchandises that way. We typically tend to merchandise by category. If you want the official worksheets, you click on Physical Count Worksheet, and there's a couple different ways you can run this. First of all, notice the order by defaults to item, so you want to change that by using this drop-down and choose maybe category, subcategory item, or category item. Or if you merchandise by vendor, choose vendor item, one of the two here. Okay, so I'm going to choose that one. I'm going to leave the print quantity at none, and then I'm going to preview. So you see the item number, the description, the retail price, the main stocking unit. You have a space to enter your count and another space for somebody to check your count and initial it. Another way to run the count sheets is to use this drop-down and select Frozen. And then click on Preview. So what this shows you is, again, item description, price, stocking unit. But then when you did the create step, it's showing you how many Counterpoint things you had at the very moment you did the create step. I kind of think this lends to cheating. You know, somebody might see this and say, oh, well, Counterpoint thinks we have 3, so I'll just write in 3. But that's up to you. Physical count enter. If you're manually entering counts, this is where you're going to come to. If you're scanning and exporting, this is where your counts land. If you're importing an Excel spreadsheet, this is where your counts land. So I'm just going to select an item by typing the item number, or you could do a lookup. Either one is fine. And then notice I have 6 count quantity fields. So maybe the first section that I count, I found 3 of these. And then in the next section I counted, I found 4. I can optionally put in notes, you know, who it was counted by, and some maybe the fixture it was on. Maybe it was on a display, so I counted this one and it was on a display. So if you're doing manual entry, you can leverage all 6 of those fields. If you're using 2B Android or CP Mobile, both of those will leverage all 6 of these fields. So if I scan in one section of the store and I scan 3, it lands in count quantity 1. If I scan that item in another section of the store, it lands in count quantity 2, and on and on and on. Now, if for some unlikely reason the item is in 7 different places in this store with 2B Android and with Windows, Counterpoint will just start adding it back to count quantity 1. So there's nothing manual you need to do. It's all automatic. If you're using 2B Windows, or you're importing from Excel, or you're using a third party, everything lands in count quantity 1. And Counterpoint will add automatically. So if I counted 3 in one section of the store, and then my import saw 4 more in another section, Counterpoint just updates that count quantity 1 to 7. When you're done entering the count, you save, don't post. It'll make reporting very, very cumbersome. If you're going to use a third party or an Excel spreadsheet, come here to Physical Count Import. You will browse here for the file. I don't have any right now. I'll pretend that's one. You'll browse for the file. Then you have to note the position in the file of the item number or barcode and the position of the quantity field. Now, in most imports that I've seen from a third party or from Excel, the item number and or barcode is in field number 1, or if you look at Excel, column A, which Counterpoint interprets as number 1, and then the quantity might be in a different position. I've seen some files that have item number, description, price, and then the counted quantity. So that would be position number 4. So you just have to count across the columns. And then import, of course. When you're done, or even during the inventory itself, but especially when you're done, click on the physical count edit list. Again, it's a report. It's not going to change anything. And I like to run this with the print quantity at frozen actual variance, include uncounted items, so I can see if I missed anything. And then I like to print variances for uncounted items. And I like to group the report by category so I can see if there's any high shrink categories. Now, when I preview this, again, you can see an item number, a description. This time you see cost. You'll see the frozen, from the snapshot when you did the create, the count, a quantity variance, and a value variance. So I'm going to go look at my one thing that I counted. By the way, these binoculars at the top of the screen, any preview anywhere in Counterpoint, whether it's a report preview or a lookup preview, or in this edit list preview, you can actually use the binoculars to look for certain items. You can type in a description of the item or even the item number. I'm going to click on Find Next. So you can see here, it's showing my counts, my individual counts, and then it's totaling them up here. So 15 altogether, 7 plus 4 plus 4. Now, let's say I'm looking at this and I say, that doesn't look right. I'm pretty sure I saw a bunch of these on display. So you're going to send somebody out to recount the item. You're not going to use scanners. You're going to use pencil and paper, fingers and toes if you like. Make sure that when you are recounting, keep in mind the item might be in multiple different places in the store. It's on the floor, it's on a display, it's in the stock room. So somebody comes back and says, you know what? Good eye. We have 20 of those. So now we need to fix the count. So I'm going to close out of here and close that. And I'm going to go to physical count enter to fix the count for the item. Okay, so what I want to do is make this page add up to 15. So I'm sorry, add up to 20 because right now it's 15. So I don't care how you do it. There's no right or wrong, but I could come to count quantity 4 and put in 5 because 5 plus 4 plus 4 plus 7 equals 15. Or I could just backspace over all of these and then just put 15 and count quantity 1. Now, any quantity field that's blank, Counterpoint will treat as a 0. So as soon as I save this, remember save, don't post, and I run my edit list is going to be updated automatically. So I'm just going to go ahead and preview. I'm going to pull out my handy binoculars. And you can see that now I have 15. Did I not save that? This is what I like about my job. Hey, watch this. Let's try that again. Oh, yeah, because I made it 15 like a, okay, way to go. So it's really got to be 20. So I'm just going to put in another count there. Now let's go look at the edit list. Math is not my strong suit, by the way. And we'll just go here and preview. And we'll come here. So, there's no wait period. There's, no 10-minute delay or anything. So you can see it immediately updated to 20. I think something else that's worth noting in Enter is that I was counting a flat item. Your gridded items look a little bit different in here. So I'm going to find a gridded item. I think I've got a polo in here. So notice all the count fields are grayed out. They're protected. So to enter counts for a gridded item, you need to click on this little funny square here. Okay, and so you would just put a count for what you have. Maybe I have one blue small, but I don't have any mediums, so I leave it blank. I don't have to put a 0 there because any blank field, Counterpoint's going to treat as a 0. And now maybe I have 3 large blues, and maybe I have 2 medium reds. And then click OK. Another method of counting, and it only is good for flat items, not for gridded items. But if you come here to the table view, you kind of get a spreadsheet, and then you can go through here and just enter your counts. Search for the item, find it, put in your count. And by default, you'll see count quantity 1 in table view. You may need to go into your column designer to add, well, come on back here. You may need to go into your column designer to add count quantity 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 if you want to use those fields. Another nice thing about being in the table view is that it auto saves. So if I put a count here, see how the floppy disk lights up here? You don't have to click on it. If you just arrow away from the line, it automatically saves. After you've run your edit list, corrected your counts, you're ready to post. I have a philosophy about physical inventory. Do your create step, scan or count, run your edit list, make your corrections, post and move on with your life. I like posting done on the same day. However, maybe it was a long day counting and you're tired and you want to go home and maybe come in tomorrow morning with fresh eyes and a fresh brain and post tomorrow morning. That's perfectly fine. But please, please, please do not call me to help you troubleshoot a file that you haven't posted that's been open for a month. It's difficult, if not impossible. Okay, when you're ready to post, you click on Physical Count Post. Again, the location defaults to the work group you're logged into. So I just love doing that. Log into that work group. It's just less to think about. Leave the date alone. Now, for uncounted items, this is really important. Assume quantity counted is 0. All that means is if I left a count field blank, treat it as a 0. And that's a good thing. So what that saves me from doing is coming here and manually on enter and manually entering zeros for items I don't have. That switch in posting takes care of it. So when I post, Counterpoint's going to say 15 plus 5 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 20. Okay, so I'm going to go post, assume quantity counted is 0. If you're doing a cycle count, you want to filter down here for whatever you filtered for in the create step. So in my example, I did apparel, or I showed you apparel earlier. So when I post, I would select the apparel category, but I'm going to post my entire inventory. The posting process is going to take about the same amount of time the create process took. And when you post, whatever you counted, if you were closed, whatever you counted is going to become your new on hand, regardless of the create. For example, when I did the create, there were 100. I counted 90. At the end of the day, when I post, my new on hand is going to be 90 for that item. Let's say the item had negative 100 and I counted 90. At the end of the day, my new on hand is still going to be 90. So regardless of negatives, positives, and the frozen. Okay, now I'm going to click on post, and that's going to go really fast because I only have 200 items. For some of you, you might need to run out for a cup of coffee while this is working and come back later. Okay, so now my inventory is posted. At the end of posting, you are going to be prompted to print a report. I have that prompt turned off. So when you get prompted to print the report, it's basically going to ask you to print the posted version of the edit list. But you're tired, you want to go home, you don't need to look at the report, you looked at the edit list a million times, but maybe a week from now, accounting calls you and says, hey, we need the physical inventory report. Well, anything you post in Counterpoint becomes part of your history. So in order to get that report to accounting, you're going to go to Inventory, Reports, History, Physical Count History. You're going to go to the event number lookup. It's going to be the top file. You're going to click on OK, group it by category, and then you can preview the report. And there it is. It's the exact same report. It's just the posted version. So that is physical inventory. And let's go back to the slide presentation. So hopefully after this session, you know how to prepare outside of the software and inside of the software for physical inventory, how to actually perform all the steps to doing the physical count, and then reporting on your posted physical inventory files. January 2024, can you believe it? God, almost the end of 2023. This is our last Training Bytes for 2023. So in 2024, I'm going to kick off a series of reporting webinars starting in January with point of sale. February will be all about inventory reports. March will be all about sales analysis reports. So in January, we're going to look at all the point of sale reports that you find under point of sale reports. We're also going to look at something called unposted sales analysis. This is a really nice report to look at, sales by item, say, sales by category that are not yet posted. And a lot of people don't even know that this exists. I'm going to show it to you. We'll also look at history and journal reports and discuss what's the difference. So make sure you sign up for that. And let's go back. We have our last C&K quarterly on December 21st at 1 Eastern time. You should start getting emails with invites to reserve a spot starting either this week or next week. But we'll talk about retail
Hey, Gina,
operations, Counterpoint. Yes.
I'm sorry. It may have been my ears, but I thought you said the 21st, but it's the 27th based on the screen and my calendar.
Yeah. I probably said the 21st because I like to confuse people. Thank you. Yes, Marty's right. It's the 27th, not the 21st, just like it says on this slide. Thanks, Marty. There's only one session at 1 Eastern, but yeah, join us. Learn about product news and software updates to Counterpoint. If you want customized training, make sure you reach out to me, but that's not what this slide is about. This slide is about Friday. When you get the link to the recording, you'll also have a survey. How did we do? Give me some topic suggestions for next year. Or if you want to fill out the survey today, just go to our website, www.cksystem.com/Training Bytes survey. Now, I see I got a little ahead of myself. If you want customized training for your business, call me, main number extension 3, email me, training@cksystem.com. We can do training on your database, which makes a lot more sense than my golf database. Okay, and with that, let's take a look at the Q&A.
Let me try that again. I don't see anything in the Q&A that's new.
I shall check with you. Yeah, I'm just looking at old stuff
And I
here.
don't see anything in the chat either, except that I
I
don't know
do
how to
not.
use my speaker system.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't see anything in the Q&A at all. Well, we have a very bright group here today. Okay, well, if anyone doesn't have any questions, thank you very much for your time. Have a great holiday season, and come see me in January for point of sale reporting. Thanks,
oh,
everyone.
and don't forget December 27th for our Q&A quarterly.
Thank you, Marty. Not the 21st, the 27th.
All right. Bye.
Okay, everyone, have a great day. Talk to you later.